So about 2 years ago, I met my girlfriend and I noticed something was different about her in that she was extremely flexible and she had super soft skin and silky hair. She also had an abnormally high pain tolerance as the major joints from her shoulders to her hips would dislocate constantly and she would put them back into place without complaining. So at first I thought she must have been some sort of superhuman aspiring to join the X-Men, or that she was the real-life Elastigirl. But unfortunately, she told me she had been diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a very rare genetic disorder that I had never heard of until that point. So she told me she was in constant and extreme pain as a result of the disorder. And because of EDS, she has a tough and complicated life, making trips to doctors all over the country. Her strength in handling life with EDS has inspired me to speak for her and others with the disease and spread awareness. So today I'm going to teach you about the symptoms, the causes, and the management, and the life of those living with EDS. So according to the National Library of Medicine, EDS is a genetic disorder, so it can be either hereditary or the result of a spontaneous mutation in genes. It's a connective tissue disorder, meaning that it affects the ligaments and the tendons in the joints among other connective tissue, which can be found everywhere in the body. So ligaments and tendons are what support the joints in our body, and they can be described as the glue that holds us together. They can also be found in other places like organs to hold them in place. And the key ingredient in the strength of these connective tissues is a protein called collagen. Now that might sound familiar to you because that's a popular supplement for hair strength. And so EDS is the result of a defect in the genes responsible for collagen. So as a result, EDS patients have extremely weak ligaments that are prone to, then their joints are prone to dislocation. So if you take a look at this, this is a picture of collagen in a ligament, and if you take a closer look, it looks like this. So to explain EDS clearly, a body with a lack of collagen is like a brick wall built without cement. So although the symptoms can vary among the different types of EDS, the symptoms most commonly found are hypermobility, which is the joint's ability to extend or rotate beyond the normal range. And in this middle picture, her hand is actually facing like this, not like that. So that's kind of gross, right? And the second is skin flexibility. Don't worry, that's not her. So patients with EDS have skin that's highly elastic because the collagen isn't as strong in their skin, so they can pull it to some extreme measure. And they have really fragile joints, skin, and bones. So because the collagen isn't there to support their joints properly, they can heal a lot slower, and they have a higher risk of infection and scarring. And since collagen affects the strength of the joints, their joints are susceptible to damage through constant friction between the two bones and just the overall lack of support. So pair these two together and they constantly battle chronic pain, which could be probably the most important symptom that they do face. And although EDS often is not life-threatening, with exception to a type called vascular EDS, the agony patients can endure is lifelong because there's no cure. So therefore, the EDS can be managed but not treated. So the patients can receive medication for their pain, and oftentimes they have issues maintaining homeostasis, so they can be given medication for that too. They can also go to physical therapy, which can help them strengthen their muscles to help keep their joints intact and in place. And they can also use braces to help support them. But also, most importantly, according to Dr. Mark Lavelle, going to the gym and strengthening the body significantly reduces the stress placed on the patient's bones and joints. So to conclude, I would like to give you some insight into the life of somebody with EDS. So most importantly, because of all the symptoms, they have very physically limited lives. So they can't partake in many activities like hiking or climbing or whatever it may be, because the damage that could occur to their joints is just too great. And because their body can't heal well as a normal person's, any injury that results from some activity can take a lot longer to heal, or it can never fully heal at all. which makes the risk of the activity, increase tenfold. And again, most patients are in constant pain. The bones and joints receive extreme amounts of stress due to the lack of support and protection. Again, because of the lack of support, they have to use their muscles to hold themselves up, which keeps them very tired after a long day, and they have to heavily exert their muscles. So finally, I'd like to give you some, I'd like to quote my girlfriend and how she was explaining life with EDS to me. And it just really packed a punch in what she said. So she says, living with EDS is to live alone. Because I don't physically look sick, people misunderstand how much pain I'm actually in. Sometimes I wake up excited and forget that I'm sick because I dreamt about being healthy. That happiness lasts until the physical pain sets in, and after the physical pain comes the mental pain. Although this pain is a curse, it's what powers me. It's a reminder to keep moving and stay strong because it's my only option. So now I hope if you ever meet somebody with EDS that you can understand what they're going through. Thank you. Walking back into silence.
Sorry.
We need like music.
Mumble amongst yourselves. Peas and carrots, applesauce, people. If I was ready faster, this would be. All right, Tuan, what did you think?
I really like the speech. He have a lot of information to give to us, and I learned many things. He's sometimes he's still looking to his outline, but I hope he could use more eye contact. I really like his girlfriend quote. It's like I really admire her, like how tough she have come through, and overall, I really like his speech.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, I thought you had a very nice visualization at the beginning. I like the kind of humorous reference to your girlfriend as a superhero. I thought that was an interesting way of looking at it. It's a very effective introduction, attention device. You get people pulled in, there's a little bit of suspense, what's going on, you've got something that's personal about it, and then we get a little bit of an unpleasant surprise, but it is something that kind of reveals the topic in an interesting way. So that's exactly the kind of thing that you want to do with an introduction. And it sounded like you had actually planned it out and practiced it, and you knew what you were going to say, which I think always helps. That when you get started on the right foot, everything follows very, very easily. There's an excellent transition to what the topic is, and there's a very, there's also an excellent setup of what the contents of the speech are going to be. So the introduction, I think, just everything is going really well. The content of the material, the structure, the supporting structure is okay. I think that on the first point, you need to have a little bit more source citation. You've got information there, and I know that some of it probably came from your girlfriend telling you these things, but you also have to, dig around, and I'm sure there's information that you got, but it didn't always get cited as clearly as it should be. So that's a minor quibble, because the descriptions are usually pretty good. I liked the way you integrated the visuals with some of your explanations, like when you show us the collagen and then you show us the brick wall and you explain building a brick wall without the concrete. That's sort of what you're looking at. I said, I got a pretty good idea about how that's supposed to work then, or how it doesn't work in this particular case. So that I thought was a good creative way of explaining that concept. I think the story of your girlfriend at the beginning, and then in the last third of the speech, where you were talking about her experience, that brings us into the speech. It makes it something that we're going to care about more because it's personal, it's real, and it's a tangible example rather than talking about some hypothetical person. It's somebody that's even more specific. In your case, of course, it works out that it's more meaningful because it's somebody that you have a relationship with. But even if you didn't have a relationship with that person, using a real person and telling their story is one of the things that pulls people in, that we care about something. I think we've mentioned that before. Stories are the easiest way for us to get a hold of an idea or concept, and I thought that you did a nice job kind of telling that story. It's organized topically. I could see the third point was cited very clearly as you got to it. The visual materials, I think, for the most part, are solid. There may be one or two excessive, unnecessary ones. I think you get a little humor and interest because of those, like the one with all the pills and the one with Arnold there, pumping iron. Probably not necessary, but they do add a little bit of interest to the presentation. The stuff in the first section, I thought, was the stuff that was most useful in explaining a subject that you're talking about. And then, of course, the pictures of your girlfriend popping her hands and arms in odd ways. That's intriguing, and the elasticity of the skin, that was another one of those ones that there's an image that people will get in their head and that'll hold on. I thought that you delivered it pretty well. You sound like you know what you're talking about. You sound like you're interested in talking about it. You're trying to get us to relate to it. I think you do a good job conveying that. And although you had to look at notes occasionally, I think my guess would be if I took those notes away from you, you'd still be able to do the speech pretty well. People just, when they've got something in their hand, they feel an obligation to look down at it, and I think that we're going to get rid of that. That's not going to be something that you're going to be doing in the future. In the future, you're going to know your material, and you won't have that temptation. You can have it when you're practicing, but when you're giving the speech, you're just going to talk to us more. All right, thank you.